I've been playing Pokemon games since before I could read, and despite the franchise slogan being "Gotta catch 'em all," I have failed to do so in every game they've put out. But that's all going to change, because in today's video, I'm going to finally make Professor Oak proud by 100%ing Pokemon Yellow. We'll have to collect all 8 badges, become the champion, and of course, register all 151 Pokemon into our Pokedex. But to be faithful to the slogan, I'm going to catch all 151 Pokemon and complete what's known as a living dex. This means we can't just evolve a single Caterpie and be done with it. We have to have a Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree all in the PC box. How hard can it be? After spawning into our house in Pallet Town, we make our way to Professor Oak's lab where we can get our first Pokemon. And since this is my first time playing Gen 1, I quickly noticed that Pikachu sounds different in this game. Oh god. After delivering Oak's parcel, we obtained our Pokedex and the ability to purchase Pokeballs. So it was time to start chipping away at some of those entries. There's just a handful of Pokemon available before Viridian Forest, and they're all quite easy to catch. I caught Rattata, Pidgey, and both Nidorans on Route 2, and then made my way to Route 22 to search for Mankey and Spearow. The Nidoran back sprites are crazy. They look like little Ow! Seriously, what is up with this game and its deafening sound effects? After catching Mankey and Spearow, I decided to catch the extra Pokemon for the living dex later because I was beginning to run low on Pokeballs. Now for those unaware, Pokemon Yellow was created to be more in line with the anime. As such, our starter Pikachu cannot evolve, but even if it could, it would require an evolution stone. So it didn't make much sense to keep it on the team and steal valuable EXP from other party members. As much as it pains me to say this, we're going to have to bench our starter. Yeah, on second thought, I have no regrets. Viridian Forest just adds Caterpie line because for some odd reason, Weedle's line was left out of this game. So after catching Caterpie and Metapod and clearing out every trainer for the XP and money, we're ready for our first gym badge. Or at least we would be if not for an extra challenge that I decided to tack on to this video. In addition to completing the Pokedex, I decided to attempt what's known as the Professor Oak Challenge. For those unfamiliar, this challenge requires you to catch and evolve every Pokemon that is available to you before every gym. So what we're going to do is just EXP grind in Viridian Forest until we have done every single entry. I decided to get the most difficult Pokemon out of the way first and started EXP grinding my Pidgey. We have to get this thing all the way to level 36 before we're allowed to proceed. So what would normally take a good hour or two in a regular playthrough is going to take much longer because we have to get there off of grinding level 4 Caterpie in Viridian Forest. Thankfully, to prevent us from going completely insane, within Viridian Forest, there's a small chance for a Pidgeotto to spawn, which gives up to 5 times the amount of EXP I'd get from other spawns. I decided to catch this first one, as it will save me the trouble of having to evolve an extra Pidgey for the living dex. But when I say small chance, I really mean it. This Pidgeotto has just a 1% encounter rate, which made it excruciatingly painful when I didn't realize I ran out of PP before this encounter. Okay, we are an hour and a half in, and we have our first evolution. There's a Pidgeotto. In terms of level, we are halfway to getting a Pidgeotto, but in terms of time, we are nowhere close. I massively underestimated just how long this would take. Yes, okay. Finally. Level 36, which means Pidgeotto is now evolving. In the time it took to get this Pidgeot, a Pokemon Yellow speedrunner could have beaten the game 3.5 times over. So, yeah, that's one down. On to the next one. This one won't be as bad. Mankey is, I think, a level 28 evolution. It still took 5 hours to get, but not as bad as the Pidgeot. From there, we had both Nidorans evolve at 16. Thank God these require evolution stones for the final forms. Metapod evolved at the very much appreciated level 10, and Rattata at level 20, which just left Spearow. Yes! I am free from this stupid forest. This is our last evolution. We're gonna get our Fearow. And then we're just about ready to move on. Oh my god. Now that the Viridian Forest population has been sufficiently culled, we could actually start to play the game again. But before taking on the gym, I decided to take a brief pit stop to stomp our rival's ego into the ground. In hindsight, I probably should have used this for EXP, but honestly, it was worth it. With the cash taken from our rival, I bought a couple more Pokeballs to catch the remaining Pokemon for our living dex, and then made my way to the gym. Oh, I've been waiting so long for this. Here we go, Brock. Now, normally, flying type is the last thing I'd bring into this gym battle. However, we're level 36, so I don't think we really have to worry about that. Nice. There's a first gym. So I noticed there's an option in the PC to get our Pokedex rated. So we can see what Oaks has to say about our Pokedex, which is completely filled in at this point. There is nothing else we can do. And the rating is... I can't believe I just spent 20 hours of my life for that. After that hard-fought victory against Brock, we have opened up a new section of the game, and plenty more Pokemon to catch. Unfortunately, now that we no longer need EXP, we are bombarded with trainer battles before we can catch a new Pokemon. So while we clear them out, if you guys are enjoying the video, consider subscribing. I do loads of challenge videos like this one, and I plan to make much more Pokemon content moving forward, so stay tuned. To avoid wasting too much of the precious trainer battle EXP, I caught a Sandshrew as soon as it could, and began using that to progress through the game. Eventually, we make it to the Mount Moon Pokemon Center where we can buy a Magikarp. While we could have saved the money by waiting until we get the Olderod to catch this Pokemon, Magikarp is easily one of the hardest Pokemon to evolve in this section of the game because... well, you already know why, so it's best to get it now and switch train it on Mount Moon trainers. We slowly but surely make our way towards the exit, battling every trainer we can, and catching all the new Pokemon we see. Eventually, we stumble across Team Rocket. Wait, is that a whip? Anyways, after making sure to grab both Moonstones, these will be very important later on, we find this super nerd who had just found 2 extremely rare prehistoric Pokemon fossils. Weirdly enough, he didn't seem too keen on giving us one, but that'll change after we beat him up. Sadly, we only get to choose one fossil here as the game didn't let us beat him up again, so later on in this video we'll be needing to trade over the Dome fossil for that entry. Before we could reach the exit of the cave, we're stopped by Jesse and James who introduce us to a crazy Gen 1 mechanic. Oh, what? Holy shit. That's a broken move. Bind or whatever prevents me from attacking for like 4 turns. Now, if you're at all familiar with the Kanto games, you'll know that once you pass through Mount Moon and travel to Cerulean City, you won't be able to return to the past section of the game until you get the next badge. So it is imperative that we catch everything we can before proceeding to the next area of the game. If not, we will fail the Professor Oak challenge. By this point, I had already caught both Zubats and Geodudes, so we just needed 2 Paras and 2 Clefairy. Clefairy is at best a 10% encounter rate, so it took a little while to find, but once we did, it wasn't too much trouble to catch. But again, we're doing a living dex, so we need more than just one. And unfortunately, the second one caused us some trouble. At this point, I only had 3 Pokeballs remaining, which is just barely enough for the remaining Mount Moon targets, assuming everything catches with the first ball. Okay, so that's off the table, but at least we can get this last Clefairy, because this is the much rarer spawn. So despite having already battled our way through Mount Moon, we had to make the long trek back all the way to Pewter City to buy more Pokeballs. On the way back to the bottom floor, I was able to pick up a Paras before eventually finding another Clefairy. What? Pokemon box is full, can't use that item. Oh my god.
I gotta go f***ing back out again.
In Generation 1, rather than just placing the newly acquired Pokemon into the box if the current one is full, it prevents you from throwing the ball until you manually select a new box, which can only be done at the Pokemon Center. Thankfully, just about all that could go wrong already has, so I was finally able to pick up the last Clefairy in Paris and proceed to Cerulean City. Once there, it seemed that our rival didn't get the memo last time, so I gave him a quick refresher before working my way through the Nugget Bridge Gauntlet. So I believe you actually get a Charmander here. Yeah, in Pokemon Yellow, you can get all 3 of the original Kanto starters, which is really cool. Though that does add another level 36 evolution to this badge, but I'm trying not to think about that right now. We fight our way to Bill, and in exchange for turning him back to a human, we receive a ticket for the SS Anne. So I caught the remaining Pokemon north of Cerulean before making my way down to Vermilion City. On Route 5, we now had both Abra and Jigglypuff to catch. While Puff was a 10% spawn, it wasn't too hard to catch. But as you all know, catching Abra can be a pain as you only get one chance before it teleports away. At this stage of the game, regular Pokeballs are still our best option, so this part was pretty painful. Especially because we need 3 of them for the living dex. So I spent a good 40 minutes searching for Abra running in the grass. Wait, no, walking in the grass. I forgot to mention Kanto hadn't quite invented running shoes in Gen 1, so we're stuck walking until we get the bike. On the plus side, I was able to evolve my Sandshrew off of all the random spawns before catching my 3rd Abra. We then make our way through Vermilion towards Diglett Cave to catch, well, Diglett, but also Dugtrio, as there's a 5% chance for that to show up instead. From there we head east to Route 11, where just Drowsy is introduced. With that, it was officially time to start the dreaded EXP grind. Fortunately, this time around we don't have to do so off of Caterpie and Pidgeys. There we go. This is the highest level Pokemon we have to get in this section, and it was not bad at all. However, unlike the Viridian Forest grind, there are a ton of evolutions to get through. We have Drowsy to Hypno, Paris to Parasect, Oddish to Gloom, Bellsprout to Weepinbell, Abra to Kadabra, Geodude to Graveler, Zubat to Golbat, and Venonat to Venomoth. Not to mention all the evolutions that we had to do twice for the Living Dex. At this point, we're getting extremely close to matching our time for the first badge, and we're still not quite done yet. Now, I think it's this house? So if we talk to her, we can get a Bulbasaur. I think. It turns out you have to have a high enough friendship stat with Pikachu in order to obtain this Bulbasaur. You know, the starter that I mercilessly benched 10 minutes into the game. Luckily, after a bit of searching, I was able to find an exploit. I was worried we'd have to spend a ton of time training this Pikachu, but if we buy a potion, and we take this potion, and use it on Pikachu while it's at max HP, that right there supposedly increases its happiness. Okay. Oh, there's a heart. Nice. Okay, so now if we talk to her... Ah, there we go. That's so awesome. No more leveling. That is the last evolution, and that is 47 in the dex. That's a crazy Venusaur sprite. I would soon find out that the back sprite is even better. Okay, what am I looking at? This is the first time I've seen Venusaur's back sprite, and I don't know what's going on. There are 2 Moonstones available at this part of the game, and 4 Moonstone evolutions, but it doesn't really matter which ones you go with. And finally, the last Pokemon of this area is obtained through an in-game trade. And if we go in this house, and we talk to this guy... Okay, we talk to this guy, we can trade our our Clefairy, rather, for a Mr. Mime. There we go. And normally this is where you would see the Professor Oak challenge continue to the next area. However, because I'm going for the Living Dex, I decided to also complete trade evolutions as soon as they became available to us. So I traded a Graveler and Kadabra back and forth to get ourselves those evolutions. With that, we have just 99 more Pokemon to register, after 40 hours of play. Before leaving Vermilion City, I got the bike voucher, and received the Cut HM from the captain of the SSN in exchange for... I don't want to talk about it. After just about 41 hours, we can get our second badge. So I'm hoping, again, it will get easier, but yeah, this last section took just as long as the first, which I wasn't expecting. And there's a lot of Pokemon coming up. With the Cascade badge, we can now use Cut outside of battle, which is where Kanto really differs from other generations. With this 1HM, we can now access nearly the entire map, which means we have a lot of Pokemon to catch. As such, I decided to start using this guide made by Mewlax to help me keep track of the new Pokemon. If you guys would like to try the Professor Oak challenge for yourselves, I highly recommend checking this guide out. Things start off pretty slow as we travel east of Cerulean City, just a ton of trainer battles that we don't at all need right now because everything is fully evolved. That is, until this patch of grass north of Rock Tunnel where we can find Magnemite and Machop in the grass. So I just went into Rock Tunnel and I saw this screen and I thought the game was still loading in until I moved, but that's just what it looks like in Gen 1. You cannot see anything. There's no little bubble around it. Even the menu's grayed out. Good thing I brought Flash. Surprisingly, Onyx is the only new entry in this entire cave, so after grabbing one and battling all the trainers, I made it to Lavender Town where I stopped for the night. When I woke up the next day, I booted up the game to continue the challenge, but was greeted with some bad news. Okay, so I'm just over 40 hours into this Professor Oak challenge, and I went to go continue working on it, and new game. So the save file has been deleted. Back in Gens 1 and 2, the save file was tied directly to the cell battery within the carts. So when that battery dies, so does your save file. These batteries last years and years, so for it to die halfway through this challenge was incredibly unlucky. However, because I'd known this was a possibility, as unlikely as it is, after each session I would back up my save file. So what could have been disastrous was just a minor nuisance because all I had to do was open up the cart and solder in a brand new battery. With that sorted, we can make our way to Celadon City, pick up the gift TV, and head into the game corner. Now, this area isn't very great for us. There are just 2 Pokemon that we have to get here, luckily. So it's just Vulpix and Porygon. Now, for whatever reason, Porygon costs 9,999 coins. I found that by simply pestering the local gambling addicts, they'll actually pay you some coins to get you to go away, which worked well for a bit, but I only got 270 coins for my endeavors. So we are presented with two options: spend countless hours in the game corner grinding the slot machine until we win it really big, or save up as much money as we can through the section and hopefully have enough to buy it before the gym. Seeing as we are already 40 plus hours deep into the run, I decided to take the route that I thought would be most efficient and buy our way to the Porygon. However, the exchange rate is abysmal. For $1,000, we get just 50 coins. So we'll be needing to somehow scrounge up $200,000 before the third gym badge to get this Pokemon. So I decided to just put Porygon on the back burner and buy the rest of my way to the Vulpix for now. Before we leave Celadon, we can purchase some evolution stones from the department store. 2 leaf stones and 2 fire stones. Unfortunately, the rest of the map is still blocked off thanks to the 2 Snorlax that picked the 2 most optimal spots to take a nap, so we have to progress through the story a bit more before continuing. We went back into the game corner to clear out the rocket hideouts where we found a ton of items to collect inside, like TMs, nuggets, and stat boosting items, all of which we can sell to help us inch towards that $200,000 mark. Defeating Team Rocket and their boss Giovanni was easy enough, and afterwards I was able to evolve both Nidoqueen and Nidoking with 2 Moonstones that I was able to get now that we have cut. After capturing some Doduo west of Celadon, we could then proceed to the Pokemon Tower where we saw our rival tragically grieving for his dead Rattata. So to make him feel better, we swept his team again. Inside the tower we can catch Ghastly, Cubone, and Haunter, and also receive the Pokeflute from Mr. Fuji as a reward for saving him from Team Rocket. Oh, just gotta make room real quick. There's another fun little Gen 1 quirk for you. With a flute, we could now wake and catch Snorlax and proceed south of Fuchsia City. But before that, we can actually do another in-game trade. This one is really handy because we can get the Machamp trait evolution without having to trade with myself. Next, I decided to battle my way to Fuchsia City where we could receive the EXP All. This is similar to the EXP Share, but gives EXP to your whole party similar to the new games, but not quite the same. Rather than splitting the EXP evenly between all party members, your lead Pokemon still receives something like 60% of the EXP. I know it's not all optimal to use this, but I was just getting really sick of switch training Pokemon, so I decided to use this while fighting the rest of the trainers to passively work on some of these evolutions. Next, I battled my way through Cycling Road to catch Ponyta, then traveled east to Route 12 where some guy gave us his Super Rod. With the help of his rod, I could fish several new Pokemon, and even many of their evolved forms, saving us a ton of time on XP grinding. And after catching Farfetch'd, we are finally done with standard encounters for this sector of the game, because we're now headed to the Safari Zone. For those unfamiliar, the Safari Zone adjusts how Pokemon encounters work by preventing you from battling wild Pokemon. Instead, you enter a mini-game where you can either throw a ball, bait, or rock every turn to help you catch them. The catch is, after every turn, the Pokemon you're facing has a chance to flee. For some, that chance is quite low, and for others, well, just don't expect to be leaving the zone anytime soon. There are quite a few Pokemon to pick up here in the zone, but I'll focus on the most difficult finds. Tangela is our first target in the starting area. With just a 4% encounter rate, it is very difficult to find, and when you do, you only have a 6.5% chance of capturing it each turn. And I caught it first try. I didn't look up the capture rate for some of these Pokemon beforehand, so I won't lie, I didn't even know this one was supposed to be difficult. I stayed in this area to round up the rest of the encounters for some time, and eventually stumbled across this 1% encounter rate Chansey. You can find this Pokemon in one of the later Safari Zone areas at a much better 4%, so I wasn't necessarily searching for this one yet. No way, first try Chansey. Okay, I'm doing a really bad job of showcasing how hard this is supposed to be. Believe it or not, Chansey's the lowest capture rate of anything in the zone. But don't worry, I think the next area should showcase how unforgiving the zone can be. While Tauros doesn't have quite as low of a capture rate, it's still extremely low, and once again, has just a 4% encounter rate. And this one played out much how you would expect. It fled for me on countless occasions and ended up taking over an hour to catch this one Pokemon. There are 3 more Pokemon that we need that share Tauros' flee rate. However, they were thankfully much kinder to us as it only took an hour to catch all 3 of them, which just left fishing for Dratini. While the capture rate is similar to the previous targets, its encounter rate is much higher, so despite needing 3 of them, it didn't take too long. But before I could, a Dragonite appeared. Oh, Dragonite. Okay, this could be really good if we get this. We probably won't. That's really rare in the... Oh, you missed the Pokemon. What does that mean? You missed the Pokemon? I've never seen that prompt before. Is this bugged? What? Okay. Yeah, I'm still not exactly sure what happened there. But now that we have 3 Dratini, we can exit the Safari Zone. As painful as that whole experience was, I still consider myself lucky to leave the zone after just 3 hours. With that, we set our sights on Saffron City. We make quick work of the fighting dojo to receive our gift Hitmonlee. I tried to take both, but apparently that was too greedy, before cleaning out Team Rocket from Silphco. Not only can we receive a gift Lapras here, but this building also has tons of much needed trainers for both Porygon savings and evolution EXP. On the topic of evolutions, by now I had nearly completed them all in this area. We just had a couple Safari evolutions to finish up before we can move on, but we'll get to those a little later. Before that, we have a Porygon to buy. So I've done every trainer battle I could find and sold just about every item I could find as well. And I think I'm like 500 away. I would soon realize that the 500 coin purchase option was a Fire Red Leaf Green innovation. So I was forced to buy coins in increments of 50, meaning that I will have to complete this purchase prompt 200 times. There goes 20 minutes of my life that I'm never getting back. Now, clearly we're just short of our goal, so as much as I didn't want to, it was time to hit the slots. I don't know if it's true, but people were saying that the bottom right machine is the best. So we'll do ×3. Shoot, okay. Oh yeah, big 15 coins. I think I'm losing still. Oh god. Oh, wait, what does that do? Oh, that's the 300. Easy. Okay, I'm just gonna sit here for a sec. I'm so glad that we had this Porygon. I was so worried about this throughout this section. Boom, Porygon. With that, it was time to grind. Like I said before, we have 2 Pokemon to level up at this point. However, they aren't exactly the easiest evolutions to obtain. First, I got to work at evolving Rhyhorn into, you know who. This grind took 3.5 hours because Rhyhorn doesn't evolve until level 42. To be fair, I started using the EXP all for the last few levels, which slowed things down. But that's because I had to start prepping for our next evolution, Dragonite. This Pokemon evolution demands level 55 from us, which means a lot of grinding. To make matters worse, Dratini has an atrocious level up pool, which is something I haven't really touched on until now, but it happens a lot in Gen 1. Here's the current Gen Dratini. We got Twister, Dragon Tail, Slam, Aqua Tail right after evolving, and Dragon Rush at level 35. And then in Gen 1, we get Wrap and Slam at 30. That's it. While Wrap can be very useful, it's not exactly optimal for leveling. So our best bet is to teach it Surf, and then just go back to the PC every time Remove runs out of PP. So yeah, this one took a while, but it would have taken even longer if I didn't have the foresight to save every single rare candy that I've picked up for this one Pokemon. We are done with the leveling, and we've caught everything we can and evolved everything we can, barring Gengar. While we can choose between quite a few badges for our 3rd gym, the Soul Badge from Koga will unlock the most Pokemon for our decks. Okay, Dragonite. Does he have... Are his wings that small? It was during this gym battle that I discovered why some of these back sprites look odd. It's because unlike the front-facing sprites, they were never changed from the original sprites in Pokemon Red and Green, released exclusively in Japan. You see, before Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow released overseas, Pokemon made its debut with these 2 games in Japan, and they had some very questionable Pokemon sprites. The reason why Dragonite's back sprite has tiny wings compared to the front-facing ones is because the original front-facing sprite looked like this. And when you factor in how much of a freak of nature this Venusaur was, the back sprite seems to make a little more sense. Again, it's still really ugly, but at least it's no longer confusingly ugly. With our new badge, we can now use Surf out of battle, and access nearly every Pokemon available before the Elite Four. This includes a few water types and access to Cinnabar Island, where we can finally revive our fossils. Additionally, there are a couple easy spawns in the mansion and Seafoam Island. Finally, we can now visit the power plant for a few wild encounters, and most notably, a level 50 Zapdos with just 3 badges to our name. Is this Psyduck supposed to be Zapdos? Yeah, that's Zapdos. This is also the last Pokemon we have to catch, which is insane. This has taken way less time, so let's get it red. It cannot move. And we start throwing Great Balls. And there it is. We just had 2 Pokemon left to evolve, which took about 2 hours, before we could take on our 4th badge and show Lieutenant Surge what a real electric type looks like. Take me on with your puny power. He doesn't know. Does he only have 1 Pokemon? Is it just the Raichu? Yeah, he just has 1 Pokemon. Okay. Is this Jenny here? Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is actually our only Pokemon of this area. As you can see, this challenge is very front heavy. After evolving our Squirtle to Blastoise, we have 128 out of 150 Pokemon registered in our decks. Despite taking 69 hours to get to the first 4 badges, all that's left to do before the Elite Four are the 2 other legendary birds, and to demolish the rest of the gyms. So we took down Erica's gym, made our way to Seafoam Island, caught Articuno, also crazy Articuno back spray, by the way, and then quickly rounded up the rest of the gym badges with the help of a Dragonite. Just 1 hour after fighting Erica's gym, and we were ready to enter Victory Road, where we can counter and catch Moltres. With the last of the catches out of the way, it was time to face the Elite Four. However, because I've somehow managed to put together a mono flying team, I was admittedly a little worried, but it turned out to be a cinch. With the help of Dragonite, Zapdos, and Charizard, we steamrolled the members and could challenge the champion, who happened to be our rival looking for one last clobbering for old time's sake. But as we do so, let's talk about the 21 Pokemon that we're missing. In Pokemon Yellow, becoming the champion will unlock 2 extra Pokemon for us. But that still leaves 19 left in the decks. So where are they and how do we get them? Well, we need to talk about version exclusives. Despite the whole game being all about catching them all, you can't actually do so with just 1 game. To milk the fans for some extra cash, Game Freak had the ingenious idea to lock certain Pokemon behind slightly different versions of the same game. Pokemon Red and Blue are nearly identical, the only real difference being that certain Pokemon are version exclusive. If your favorite Pokemon is Ninetales and your parents bought you Pokemon Red instead of Blue, then better luck next generation. And because they know we can't just trade them over because we don't have friends, we're forced to buy them all. Oh, that's just me? So I booted up my recently acquired Pokemon Red and started a new run. But how far do we need to get in order to catch all of the exclusives? Well, we can catch the majority of them with just the Cut HM. However, we'll unfortunately be needing Surf to get to the Power Plant and the Pokemon Mansion, which means getting the Soul Badge from Koga. But thanks to how non-linear the Kanto region is, we can do that fairly early into the game. So the plan was to play through the game as fast as possible, dodging every trainer I could and picking up all the rare candies available on the way to make up for the lack of EXP. I used my starter until it evolved to Ivysaur, and switched to a Dugtrio once I reached Vermilion for the rest of the way. Dugtrio matches up extremely well against Koga's gym, and has the added benefit of allowing us to preserve our 2nd stage starter for the living decks. After about 3 hours, we make it to Cinnabar and can start getting these exclusives. We revived Kabuto, caught coughing and wheezing in the mansion, rounded up Weedle's line in the forest, caught an Electabuzz, used the Thunderstone on Pikachu and Eevee, captured the Ekans line, and earned our Hitmonchan at the dojo. The last thing we need to get is this Jinx. So cursed. I then traded everything over and evolved any final evolutions we couldn't catch in the wild. All that took about 5 hours, which I was pretty happy with. Unfortunately, we're not quite done yet, because unlike playing through Red or Blue, where just 2 games is enough to complete the decks, Yellow requires Pokemon from all 3. For this one, I employed the exact same strategy, except I went with Squirtle this time, again for the living decks. There's much less for us to tackle here, just a couple of Meowths, another Fossil, another Eevee, and Magmar. After evolving Meowth, our time on the blue save was at 4 hours, so not too bad at all. But sadly, because we're doing a living dex, we're not quite done there. I still need another Eevee and Kabuto. Because there are no held items in this game, I can't just give the fossil to a Pokemon, trade it to my yellow, and revive it there. Which means I have to play all the way to Cinnabar Island again, just to revive another fossil. But by this time I was quite efficient with the run, and made it there in 2.5 hours. But man, was I sick of playing through this section of the game. I traded everything over, and reset my save 3 times for the last of the starters. Okay, with the trade exclusives complete, we're back in Cerulean City, and we can head over there to that cave, now that we've done the Elite Four. And in that cave, we'll be getting Mewtwo, finally, and we'll be able to finish this thing off. 83 hours so far. On my way to Mewtwo, I was really itching to finish this off and fill in these last couple of entries. Oh, is that it? It just kind of looks like right on. But I believe that is Mewtwo. Okay, here we go. Let's catch Mewtwo. Just about to hit 83 hours in. We are not messing around. We're going to get our Master Ball. Right here, we've been saving this for Mewtwo. And just like that, we have all the legends. Now, I'm sure there's been a very specific Pokemon in the back of your minds that have purposely left out of the video until now. And I was very surprised to find out that a certain pink Pokemon has been locked away in the same cave as Mewtwo in this game. All we had to do was find it. There it is, Licky Tongue. I have no idea why this is locked behind post-game, but here we are. Oh, you guys were thinking of Mew? Well, unfortunately, Mew was an event-only Pokemon back in the 90s, so we can't really get it now. And as far as the game is concerned, we have completely filled in our Pokedex. However, missing an entry, even if on a technicality, didn't sit right with me. So with the help of a little goofy Gen 1 goodness, we're going to see if we can find a wild Mew. But we're actually going to have to do so in our Pokemon Red file. Okay, so we're back in Cerulean on our red file. I'm not entirely sure this even works. It doesn't look like it should, but glitches are often like that. So we're just gonna try it and see what happens. And you'll quickly see why I couldn't do this in yellow, because the glitch does work in yellow. If we head up past all these trainers at Nugget Bridge, and there's a trainer on the left, you need to have not battled this trainer yet for this to work. If we go down one tile, there we go. So as soon as we exit this party, we will have aggro that trainer and it will battle us. However, before that, because we were able to open our party in time, we teleport out. So yeah, so there's the interaction, but we're teleporting away. So, okay, we're in Saffron. All right, lovely. I forgot to set my teleport location to Cerulean, but we're just gonna see if this works anyway. Also, it should be noted, you cannot open your party menu right now. It just does not work. So I can't fly back to Cerulean, so we're gonna have to walk back. So yeah, there's two trainers that you need to have not battled. So that was the first one. And then the second one is also on that route north of Nugget Bridge. Now it's this guy up here. So we battle this trainer. We win. Oh god. Okay, I think we crashed. Okay, we're gonna try that again. I think it was because I wasn't on the correct tile. I also fixed our teleport location. There we go, okay. This makes no sense to me. You guys will see it in a second. So we take out the Slowpoke, finish that trainer battle. So now at this point, I believe we can open our party again. Yeah, we can. Now we teleport again. Now what's supposed to happen here is when we travel over Nugget Bridge again, our party's just gonna open. Our menu, I guess I should say. Like that. So I did not do that. That did it all on its own. Now if we go back, we have an encounter. And it's supposed to be Mew. It's so weird. It is so weird. I don't know why that works. But there's a wild Mew. Yeah, no cheats. It's just a weird glitch that is so easy to perform. And you can do it as soon as you get to Cerulean, which is really cool. All right, let's do a Great Ball. That's still so crazy. There we go. Okay, first ball. Only a few people have seen it worldwide. That's so cool. And so after trading over a Mew, I have officially completed my very first Pokedex. And not only that, but an entire living dex as well. All that's left to do is show it off to Oak and make him proud. Okay, we'll talk to Oak. How's your Pokedex coming? He's not ready for this. Your Pokedex is fully complete. Congratulations. We're gonna get the certificate, I think? Wait, that's it? Wait, we get a congrats. And then we're just sent on our way? Okay, there's gotta be more, right? Okay, turns out Professor Oak still doesn't really care. We have to talk to the devs to get a recognition. And there it is, our first ever Pokedex diploma after all of these years of playing the Pokemon games. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more. Peace.